2 years ago I made this. What is it? I hear you wondering. Well, it's actually, I guess you might call it a plenum, but it's to do with the heater and the controls for the dash or feet or screen vent controls. Got these 4 outlets, and there's a couple of flaps in here which control them. And to control the flaps, I used these central locking motors, some bell cranks in there, and they open and close, and they open and close the flaps, which is all very nice going via these Bowden cables. Yeah, it does actually work, but it's quite huge, and I'm not sure where in the car now I can put this motor module, so I'm going to rework it to make it a bit more compact. And to do that, I need to take the motor module off. So here is my servo motor, and I've got 2 of these things, and my task now is to work out how to replace this huge and clunky item with these little cute ones. So this is the underneath of the, what do you call this thing? The top of dash panel that goes just inside the windscreen, and that's where their screen vents go. In fact, that is a screen vent. But I worked out some time ago I needed the thing to go at an angle, so I made this little wedgy thing, which kind of does the job. However, that was all quite a long time ago now, and you might have caught a glimpse previously of the situation behind my dashboard, which leads me to what's happened here. Well, if you look in there, yeah, this has been on the channel before. It is pretty congested, and that is without the heater air conditioning unit in there. So it certainly doesn't help when you've got to feed some screen vents. So in spite of having done all of that stuff, I was looking for something more compact, and I realised that the reason for the problem was actually the very large size of the screen vents themselves. That's where this stuff has come from. So basically I've printed 2 rectangular boxes with hose outlets on the side, and these hoses will go onto the heater box itself, and this is a lot more compact than the fishtail type ones that I had before, primarily because the hoses are smaller. So that's one thing. The other thing is the heating and air conditioning unit itself. Now, there's some things going on here. Let me show you. Now, look at that funny metal thing. And this thing. Right, so this is the one of the vertical air conditioning heater units you can get from Car Builder Solutions, and there's the fan unit for it, which goes on the side like this, except for the thing on top of it here is not the one that it came with. This is something again that I've made, and I'm going to show that to you in a few minutes. The problem, if you like, and this is my previous attempt to fix the problem, is having control over the different. Originally there was 6 of these hose outlets, but there was no control. You couldn't switch ones off or on, and this was my original attempt with these flaps It's just, I mean, it's not bad actually. It took quite a while to make this, but it's a bit heavy and clunky for my taste, which is why I've made this thing, which I will show you in a second. So anyway, that's the thing which I'll show you in a second. The other problem is that when fitted, this is a bit of a spoiler with these things. This is the unit that's inside that box, and as made, because this is the driver's eye view of it, if you like, as made, it has this expansion valve, this is for expansion unit, whatever, which sits on the bottom of the condenser, hangs down below the bottom of the black box which I showed you a moment ago, but unfortunately that is hanging down quite badly in the passenger footwell, and being the sharp metal thing that it is, I'm not very happy with it. So I've been seeking a way to move this into a different location, and that's why I've dismantled this thing, and that's also why I've got these. So what I'm going to do is basically replumb this. Now luckily it's all copper fittings. The thing that's not quite so lucky is that whereas your average DIY shop has 15mm copper fittings, these are not 15mm. They are imperial sizes. They're 1/2 inch and 5/8 of an inch. Now luckily it turns out you can get those without too much bother. Okay, not from your local DIY shop, but because they're copper and because I can solder, I intend that I can reroute these pipes so they come out in a more appropriate location. So that is the other aspect of the work. Anyway, I'll park that for a moment and take you through to see what this is all about. I'll just take the top part. So, what is this? Now this is my new improved heater flap control, which effectively, well, this was never, it doesn't replace it because it was never put into use. It is instead of this thing. But the beauty of it is it's actually controlled by a little Arduino thing. Let me show you. So here is my air flap control box, which has been 3D printed. And believe you me, printing this rectangular box, I think it took 2 days on my cheapo 3D printer. But here it is, and inside we have 2 flaps. Basically it opens and closes this one here in favour of this one here. So this one goes to your feet and this one goes to the screen, and they're both together. So open. So when one flap's open, the other's closed, and when one's closed, the other one's open. And up here we have a little Arduino thing which controls this, which is in fact a radio controlled style motor, which can be operated due to the Arduino by these 2 buttons. And as you can see, the operating arm pulls on this thing and opens and closes the 2 flaps. So basically it's either screen or feet, and of course we don't want either, you just switch the fan off. So that is it. I don't propose to go into explaining how the 3D printing process worked, or indeed the code that is in this Arduino. I will say though that the Arduino itself is this little circuit board here with a red light on it. It's a microcontroller. It's quite easily programmed, and the microcontroller itself cost £4.75, and by setting it up it can be controlled with various types of control. And the control, as I did yesterday when I put this together, I can also adjust the throw on this arm to the correct extent. When I first did it, it was much too long, but now it's like this. So yeah, I wish it was a little bit quieter, but to be honest I think that's good enough, certainly for a first attempt. Oh, you might even be able to see the operation of the flaps if I can. This might be hard to see. Yeah, did you see that? Maybe you did. So, yeah. And on the bench, literally in the kitchen, here are my two buttons, up and down. So that's neat. To recap then, this is the expansion valve, and it's fitted, normally it's obviously not fitted at the moment, but it hangs down here with the hose attachments obviously on the bottom, and that unfortunately hangs down right where the passenger's knee is. Well, the knee would probably be somewhere around here, so it's not directly in the way, but in the event of some kind of accident it's not difficult to imagine this thing causing additional injuries, shall we say. So hanging like that is how it normally is. Obviously this is just an empty box at the moment. The actual innards is this. So this is actually inside that box normally. I've taken it to pieces, and in fact it screws on like that. So my task, my hope, my project is to move this thing, and either move it to the side or even completely upside down, so it then gets raised up by several inches. So what I need to do is use these U-bends. Now I've actually got the right sizes. Now these are not standard 15mm plumbing pipe. These are, well, this is the heater pipe which goes on here, and these are the aircon pipe that goes on here. So that's 1/2 inch, so 12.5mm, not 15 as standard. And this is 5/8 of an inch, which is I don't know what size that is, 18 or something millimeters. So as you can hopefully see, I should be able to move that thing thusly. And after some high stress due to the concern, soldering, cutting, I had to cut that pipe. This is to get the expansion valve on, and the heater pipes are kind of optional, but I did them as well. They were easy peasy, to be honest. This one, not quite so easy peasy. I did counter drill the back of this nut so that the flange of the U-bend thing can go into it slightly, providing slightly more free play. Only went into it a little way. May not have been totally necessary. I didn't do that with this one because the cut was a little bit longer. it's good enough. And well, the expansion valve, the trouble is I'm not quite sure which way round it goes, so I'm just gonna check that. So here it is. I had to check with a photograph on the Car Builder Solutions website to check which way round this goes, but it is in fact this way. I've had to cut the end off this plastic housing because I couldn't get it to go on, so I'll probably end up, so it goes in like that with the lid on top, something like that. But I probably will have to make some kind of 3D printed cover for this part, because I think these are going to get icy cold and then drip, so I'm going to have to come up with something for that. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. So that has lifted this expansion valve that was previously down here with the hoses. Probably the bottom of the hoses would have been actually down here somewhere, but as you can see they're now right up there, and that's pretty important. It's moved it upwards from where it would be 10 inches. So it's surprising how much further work has been required to get it to this stage. Anyway, so in spite of my previous comments that I was kind of finished with my wiring improvements, I think that I've got pretty much as far as I'm gonna get. I've got that orange wire there which may end up being plugged into the ECU, so it's kind of waiting to be connected, and the blue one over there will be for the air conditioning, which also needs to be connected later. The green one, that's actually the aerial, the radio aerial, so it gets plugged into the back of that. So here we are. So the dashboard is now the most complete it's ever been. Ever. We've even got air vent tubing, including fresh air vents, both sides. Where am I pointing? There, I think. And foot level vents there coming out of my control flat box here. Everything's plugged in, and the wiring in there actually looks, it's not a thing that's on display, right, because this thing will cover it up, but nevertheless something to be reasonably proud of, I hope. In there, it's probably not quite up to production car standards, but pretty bloody good. And here we have it. Screen vents plumbed in, and the dash even works. And that noise you can hear is actually the water pump running, so there may be some adjustments required there. So that's looking rather complete. If you got as far as this, thanks very much for watching. And in case you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. That would be really encouraging for me. So catch you on the next one.